You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. That's from Eckhart Tolle. The average person has between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and research suggests that up to 80% of these thoughts are negative. And research suggests that up to 80% of these thoughts are negative and up to 95 are exactly the same thoughts that you had yesterday. So think about what that means. Your mind is running a near constant loop of negative, repetitive commentary. And most of the time, you don't even notice it's happening. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. Who am I to think that I can do this? I'm too old. I'm too tired. I'm too far behind. Everyone else has it figured out. Why don't I? Sound familiar? That voice, the one that narrates your life, judges your choices, reminds you of everything you've gotten wrong, is what we're talking about today. And here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. That voice is not the truth. It's a habit, a deeply wired, neurologically reinforced habit. And like every habit we've talked about in the series, it can be changed. I'm Shireen Chinnock, and this is habit number 6 in the 10 Worst Habits for Your Health series. Today, we're talking about negative self-talk, what it actually is, what it's doing to your brain, where it's coming from, and most importantly, how to break the loop for good. So what is negative self-talk, and what is it doing to your brain? Negative self-talk is the internal dialogue, the ongoing mental commentary that is critical, self-defeating, or irritating. It's the difference between healthy self-reinforcement, which helps you learn and grow, and destructive inner monologue, which keeps you stuck. It shows up in a few different ways. There's the inner critic, the voice that judges, compares, and finds you wanting. And there's the catastrophizing. This is going to be a disaster. Everything always goes wrong for me. Then there's the personalizing, taking everything as a reflection of your worth or your capability. Then there's the filtering, zoning in on what went wrong while completely dismissing what went right or what went great. And here's where the neuroscience gets really interesting. Your brain has what's called a negativity bias, unfortunately hardwired to register and remember and dwell on negative experiences more than the positive ones. This is evolutionary. For our ancestors, missing a threat meant death. Missing an opportunity just meant missing a meal. So the brain learns to prioritize threat detection over everything else. It's kept us alive as a species. But in modern life, where the threats are rarely physical, it means your brain is constantly scanning for what's wrong, what's dangerous, what you should be worried about. And your inner dialogue then reflects that. So here is where it gets even more significant. Neuroscience has shown us that your thoughts are not just mental events, they are physical events. Every thought that you have triggers a neurochemical response in your brain and your body. Negative self-talk activates your stress response, raising cortisol, adrenaline, and narrowing your thinking and putting your nervous system into a state of low-grade threat. Over time, chronic negative self-talk is associated with elevated anxiety, depression, reduced immune function, higher blood pressure, poor physical health outcomes. Your thoughts are literally shaping your biology. And there's more. The brain works on a principle called Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you think a negative thought about yourself, you are reinforcing the neural pathway that makes that thought easier and more automatic next time. You are literally training your brain to be your harshest critic. The more you think it, the more it becomes the default. And the more it becomes the default, the more it feels like the truth. Maybe this example will help. Imagine you have to cross a large field every day to get home. The first time you see the field, it's overgrown, there's no pathway or track. So you have to build your way through that field the first time, and it's hard work. The next day you come to the same field and you can vaguely see the path that you have trodden from yesterday. And that's going to be an easier way for you to go. And each day you cross the field, you cross on that same track. The more you walk the track, the more worn down the path becomes, and the easier it becomes to revert back to that path. So once you generate a negative thought in relation to an event, you will continue to have it unless you actively change it. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm terrible at directions and I get lost easily. So when I have to navigate a new place, my negative thought is immediately, I'm so bad at this. I'm just going to get lost. And guess what happens? I get lost. I am bad at it. I don't know where I'm going. And this is not just a mindset problem. This is a neurological habit. The good news is neurological habits can be changed through exactly the same mechanism that created them in the first place. Repetition. Only in the other direction. So how do we get here? This is the part that I really want you to hear. Because I guess understanding where your inner critic comes from is one of the most powerful steps towards breaking free from it, finally, once and for all. It does start in childhood, of course. The brain is most malleable and most open to programming in the first 7 years of life. During this period, children are essentially a hypnotic state of learning. They absorb absolutely everything from the environment around them, not just facts, but beliefs. Beliefs about the world, about other people, even about themselves and who they are. The things that were said to you or about you as a child embed themselves deeply. You're so clumsy. Why can't you be more like your sister or your brother? You're too sensitive. Stop crying. You'll never be good at this. These weren't necessarily said with cruelty. Often they were said just casually, thoughtlessly, even with good intention, maybe even in a joke. But to a child's developing brain, they land as absolute truth. And now they become the foundation, the story you tell yourself. And it's not just words. It's what you've observed as well through your life. If you grew up around people who constantly criticize themselves, you learned that this is what you do. If love or approval felt conditional, dependent on performance or behavior, you learn to consistently evaluate yourself against an invisible standard, maybe even an impossible one. If you experience criticism without enough counterbalancing, warmth, and affirmation, your nervous system calibrated to expect threat, to look for what's wrong, to brace. By the time most of us reach adulthood, the inner critic is so deeply wired that it feels like our own voice. It feels like reality. It doesn't feel like a program we absorb from someone else. But very often, it is exactly that. Then the modern world amplifies it. Social media has created an environment of relentless comparison. We are measuring our ordinary, behind-the-scenes reality against people's carefully curated highlight reel. And the brain, with its negativity bias, uses comparison to generate more self-critical thought. They have what I should have. I'm behind. I'm not enough. Why don't I have these things? And add to that a culture that ties worth to productivity, achievement, appearance, and you have a recipe for chronic, exhausting inner war. So, how do we break this loop? And this is the part that really, really matters. Because understanding this alone is not enough. You actually have to act. All right, here's how. Step number 1, become aware of the inner voice. You cannot change something that you cannot hear or that you are not aware of. Most negative self-talk runs below conscious awareness. It's background noise that you've stopped even noticing. The first practice is to simply start noticing. When you make a mistake, when you look in the mirror, when you're about to do something challenging, what does that voice say? Don't judge it, just listen. Awareness is the beginning of everything. Step 2, name it and separate it from yourself. One of the most powerful things that neuroscience has taught us is that labeling an emotion or thought reduces its intensity. When you can say something like, here's that thought again, the one that's always saying I'm not good enough, you create a distance between yourself and that thought. You move away from it being inside you to something that is outside you and you're observing it. So you are not your thoughts. You are the person noticing them. The distinction is very transformational. Some people find it helpful to give that inner voice and that inner critic a name, not to mock it, but to separate it from your identity. Oh, that's just my inner critic again, Bob, whatever you want to call it. I hear you, but I'm not going to let you drive today. Step number 3, ask, What would I say to someone I love? If this was someone I love, what would I say? And this is the question that stops people in their tracks every single time, because the answer is almost always no. We speak to ourselves with cruelty that we would never direct at a friend, a child, someone that we deeply care about. So why would we do it to ourselves? Self-compassion is not self-indulgence. Research by Dr. Christian Neff at the University of Texas has consistently shown that self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you're offering a good friend, is strongly associated with greater resilience, motivation, and emotional well-being. Not less, more emotional well-being. The inner critic doesn't make you better. Self-compassion does. Step 4, find the evidence against the story. All right, so your inner critic operates like a bad lawyer who only ever presents evidence for the prosecution. Your job is to be the defense. So when that voice says, I don't know, I always fail, or I'm never going to succeed, ask yourself, is that actually true? What's the evidence? What have I done well in the past? What have I overcome? What are the challenges that I've achieved? And what do people who know me well actually say about me? The brain will find whatever you look for. So start looking for evidence of your capability, your resilience, your strength, your self-worth. Step 5, redesign the story with identity language. This is the most important piece of the science habit. The most powerful shift is not just stopping negative self-talk. It's actually replacing with a new identity, with a new narrative. Not toxic positivity, not pretending, but deliberate, intentional identity statements that reflect who you are choosing to become. I am someone who learns from setbacks. I am capable of doing hard things. I am becoming more confident every time I try. Repeat these things, not because they are magical words, but because repetition builds neural pathways. You are literally rewiring your brain every time you choose a different thought. This is not a one-time exercise. It's a daily practice. And like every habit in the series, it starts small, it builds with repetition, and over time becomes who you are. Step 6, learn to laugh at yourself. Life is too serious. In closing, I leave you with a quote from Gandhi. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. And watch your habits become your character. And watch your character, because your character becomes your destiny. Mahatma Gandhi. Here's what I want you to know. That voice in your head that tells you you're not enough, that voice is not the truth. It is a program, one that was written long before you had any say in it, one that has been reinforced by years of repetition, by a program that you can rewrite. Your brain is neuroplastic. It changes in response to experience. And every time you choose awareness over autopilot, compassion over criticism, a new story over an old one, you are physically changing the structure of your brain. This is not a metaphor. This is neuroscience. So please be kind to yourself. You deserve it. And please share this with someone who you think needs to be kinder to themselves too. Subscribe for the next habit in the series, 4 habits to go. Share this with someone who needs it. See you in the next one.